Hello, this is Saiful speaking in ImiRadio with Trek's friend program. With me also there is Pinka
Hello.
and Oscar.
Hello.
Maybe we can uh, introduce ourselves first. This is our first program. We are still exciting and little bit nervous. Sorry about that. I still nervous about our panel in the front my eyes. Okay, by the way, we made IMI Radio. It look like in line with the Star Trek idea in the future. I'm Saiful. Actually, I'm from Indonesia. I'm living in Warsaw already 3 years ago. I met a friend, Trek's friend here. I think the idea Trek is always the same all around the world. Maybe Finka, a little bit introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Finka. I am half Polish, half German, but I live in Warsaw. I am from Warsaw. And I have been a fan of Star Trek, I think it's been 5 years now. I didn't watch everything, but I am very keen on Star Trek in general. And we also have our Star Trek community, which is called TrekSfera. This is the Star Trek community I belong to. And we, Oscar, you belong to it as well. And we just really like the idea of Star Trek, which is really in line, as you said, with IMI Radio. We will talk a little bit more later about what Star Trek is about and what is so great about Star Trek that brings us here and brings us to Star Trek in general. Maybe Oscar will tell a bit something about himself.
My name is Oscar, and I'm Polish, and I live here in Warsaw, and I'm a Star Trek fan, I suppose, the longest time here, because I think it's about 20 years, and I'm proud of it. I like very much Star Trek. I also am representative of the Polish fan club TrekSfera, and I would like to wish you good time with us, with TrekFriends.
Okay, thank you very much for your two explanation and introduce yourself. Also to remind that our program you can find in our program in Facebook. The name is same, Trek's friend. Maybe you want to give a comment or suggestion because this is the first program. Maybe your critic, your feedback. Maybe we can fill in the program more attractive in the future. Okay, maybe we can play the music, but maybe it's not related to Star Trek. Maybe same ship under sea, because we still finding the good music for our program. For temporary, we just play Yellow Submarine from Beatles. Hello again. This is Saiful speaking again in Trek's friend radio program in IMI Radio. I want to tell about how our program appeared here because Mamadou from IMI Radio, so that have a slot program can we fill in to contribute in IMI Radio. Anything to ask? Want to say?
Say a little bit more about why you think that Star Trek, the series which we like so much, is in line with IMI Radio.
Yeah, because IMI Radio talking about diversity, humanity, and also about our life, our life. So I think the Star Trek mainly inspire us about the civilization in the future. Maybe better for us to share the idea to people today. So I hope Star Trek idea will be inspire us to make our life better than now, because now we have many conflict between country, conflict about race, and also about immigration issue, conflict about the culture. Maybe Star Trek will be inspire us to make our life better.
Yes. And this is also why we hope that maybe those of you who don't know Star Trek at all, though I guess it's a little difficult not to know Star Trek at all, because everyone knows at least Spock, the one with the pointy ears, or Captain Picard. It's popular on the internet. But even if you know only this, we hope that you will get a little bit more interested, and hopefully also because of us and of our new show, and that you will watch a little bit more Star Trek. And I think this is also the moment when we can tell you a little bit more about what Star Trek is. Now, like the technical part of Star Trek, not only what it is about, but also how to watch it. So the series started in 1966, which is also interesting because this year marks the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. It started in 1966 in America, in the USA, and it was a very interesting time to start a new show because Gene Roddenberry, who is the creator of Star Trek, he was looking forward to what the future might be like if it's different from the time he lived, which means the time of the Cold War, the conflicts the USA had with Japan, with Russia. It's important that I mentioned those two countries, and you will hear later why exactly. It's because of the characters who appear on Star Trek. And Gene Roddenberry wanted to have a show that would depict a new society which is not struck by conflict, not struck by the problems that arise when there are people who think otherwise and so on. And that's when he started creating Star Trek. And the show aired in 1966, 3 years was it when it was aired, I think. And there were 3 seasons. It was 76 episodes, as I recall. Am I right? I think the first series, which is called now the original series because it was the first, 76 episodes, and 40 minutes is one episode. And what is the nice part is you can watch it, like you can just choose or pick some episodes you want to watch.
You mean we can use without sequential series. We can jump to another series and to jump another series. All series will be spirit idea.
Exactly, yes. And so if you decide to watch Star Trek, you can just look up on the internet maybe what episode is the best one to start with. We can also give you some advice on that. But in general, the original series, it's like one episode is a whole story, and you can watch any other without knowing what was in the previous ones. So yes, this is like not the. It is, of course, the topic stays the same. We have people in space, and they are exploring our galaxy, and there is a starship, the Enterprise, of course, and we have some main characters that appear in nearly every show.
Yeah, I want to add something. I like Star Trek because all the series how to solve our problem. This is interesting thing. Not only conflict and not the in the end the problem is solved. Even the conflict, it may be about black and white. Sometimes the conflict finish without who win or who lose. But he give us the best solution. This is an interesting thing. Oh yeah, I think want to remember to audience. Maybe sometime we speak a little bit Polish, a little bit English.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oscar, want to add something about Star Trek?
I think that Star Trek is a very good vision of future, where is peace, where people can coexist in peace, and everyone wants to visit outer worlds, planets, and so on.
It's also nice to mention that because we talk about many series, it's important that we say a little bit how it looked. So we have the original series from the 60s. Then we had quite a long pause until the next generation, the new series appeared, and it was the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. Then we had the third series, which is Deep Space Nine, and it was also aired in the 90s. Then we have the fourth series, which is called Voyager, and I am not sure when the last series was aired. I think it was
The beginning of 2005,
I guess. I think it was 2005 when the last series appeared. It was Enterprise,
yes.
exactly. But there were also some films. They started in the 70s or in the 80s as well. We have 11 films. 12
films.
now. Also with the new ones, which probably all you heard about, the new films. We have 2 made, and the next one, which is called Star Trek Beyond, will be aired this year.
This
will be
summer.
brought to the cinemas.
So if the series we count together, maybe 700 title, right? It's correct, right? 700
Yes,
title.
over 700. I think it is. There are 726
Wow.
episodes, as I recall. And also we have the 12 films. We have also an animated series, and there are also lots of books, and there is Star Trek music, there are conventions. There is really so much about Star Trek, which is beyond just the films, just what you can see, beyond the episodes.
Yeah. In 700 title, Star Trek will try to cover all the aspect of our life.
Exactly.
So not only talking about the spaceship technology, also talking about culture.
Yes.
Sometimes talking about politics.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes talking about maybe about gender.
Mm-hmm.
We found many 2 or 3 title in Star Trek talking about sensuality.
Yes.
So Star Trek 700 title almost cover our life.
Exactly. We will bring a little music in the meantime, and after a piece of music we will get back to the original series, because this is the first series we would like to cover, which means we would like to talk a little bit more what was exactly in the series that brings diversity. We will talk a little bit about the characters, about the topics of various episodes, about the alien races, about the technology, and then also, which is, I think, maybe the most important thing, about the influence Star Trek had on our culture. This is important because maybe in Poland it's not as easy to see what kind of big influence Star Trek had on the society, on technologies, on some ideas. But in the US or in English-speaking countries, the influence is really easy to be seen. So this is what we will talk about after a short break.
Okay, I think we still have problem with the music. Never mind, we try to play with the same era, 60, from the Beatles. By the way, Finka want to tell about the character in the Star Trek, the original series.
Yes. Well, the most important people in the series are the 3 main characters, which are Captain Kirk, Captain James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner. Then there is Mr. Spock, who is the first officer, played by Leonard Nimoy. And then there is Dr. McCoy, played by DeForest Kelley. And those three characters are like the base of the series. We know most about their lives, their ideas, and so on. But Kirk and McCoy are male white humans. So we won't talk about them this time, at least that much. However, we will focus a little bit on Spock, because this is an alien character. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, really wanted to bring someone who is really different on the bridge. So he decided to make a whole new race, which are called the Vulcans. And Vulcans are known for their logic and stoic behavior. Maybe you can tell Oscar a little bit more about Vulcans, as I recall, it's your favorite race.
Yes, it is. It's my favorite race. Vulcans are characteristics to the very non-emotional behavior. They do not express emotions. They are driven by logic, and this is their way to live and do everything. So it's Spock. He's very calm and uses his mind to resolve some problems occurred on the mission, which is on the Enterprise.
Yeah, I can imagine that that era, 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
This time is the color people is difficult to show in the television, but Star Trek is still Gene Roddenberry who dare to promote color people to play in his series.
Or alien people, because I would like also to add that Gene Roddenberry had many difficulties because he wanted to bring an alien race on the bridge. The studio said it's not something that people want to see on TV. Yeah. And he even thought of making Spock like diabolical or red in color so that he really looks like a devil. However, this was dropped, and lately it was as we see Spock now. So because he's, to be exact, half human, half Vulcan, he looks pretty much like a person we all are. However, he has pointed ears and a little pointed brows. And this is like he looks a little different than we are, but what is most differentiating him is his behavior, because humans are depicted in Star Trek as very as people, how to say it, they are really trying to explore the world. They are driven by being interested in the world, maybe impatient, and Spock is very different from this. And this is something Roddenberry was really proud of, that he managed to bring an alien to the bridge and show that it is possible to cooperate with beings that are really different.
Okay, what next character interesting to talk?
Well, we also have the character of Uhura. This is a black woman on the bridge. She is human, I mean, as a species, but she was played by Nichelle Nichols, who is a woman of color. And this is also very interesting because it was maybe not the first time, but it was one of the first times a black woman was seen on screen. Remember, it was the 60s in the US. A black woman was seen on a screen, and she didn't play a maid or a house helping person. This is really something new. And it was also recalled by Whoopi Goldberg, the comic we all know, I guess. Whoopi Goldberg also played on Star Trek just 30 years later on Next Generation. And she was really influenced by Star Trek and by Uhura. And she often recalls that when she was 4, I think, years old, she saw Star Trek on TV and she saw Uhura and she ran to her mother yelling, Mom, there is a black woman on TV and she is not playing a maid. This is something extraordinary. Star Trek brought a female strong character who was a black woman and who was as important as all the men on the bridge. She was also capable of making decisions, of helping the bridge, and helping, like, not in cleaning, surfaces, but in being just a part of a professional crew that travels through space.
As communication officer, right?
Yes, she was the communications officer. And what is also interesting, Nichelle Nichols, the actress who played Uhura, she really likes to tell a story about her meeting with Martin Luther King, who approached her. Nichelle Nichols was a fan of Martin Luther King, and when they saw each other, Nichelle Nichols was a little intimidated. However, Martin Luther King approached her and said he was a fan of her, which was a little surprising to Nichelle Nichols. And she said to him that she wanted to leave the show because she thought that she was not doing much on the show, like having maybe not as interesting dialogues as the rest of the crew. And Martin Luther King went like very serious and said, you can't do that. You can't leave the show. You surely are not aware of how important it is that there is a black woman on a TV show, on a very popular TV show.
And his advice is, look, proof now, right?
Exactly. And she stayed.
Yes.
And she stayed. We also have 2 interesting characters which also appear on the bridge. They are regular characters. They do not appear as very important as the 3 characters of Spock, McCoy, and Kirk, but they are also really important in bringing diversity to the bridge. I'm speaking about Zulu and I'm speaking about Chekhov. Can you say something more about Zulu?
Zulu. The fact is, at the time, Japanese people is difficult to show in the American television.
Mm-hmm.
Also, still have not far from World War II with USA and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Also now George Takei has played for Zulu.
Mm-hmm.
Promote is another lifestyle for him. Yes, maybe you already know. And also in the bridge at that time, Japanese people stayed like enemy from US, but he play important role in the same ship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is something really extraordinary because you have to remember it was the time of the Cold War, and it was also the time where it was difficult to bring such diversity to TV, and then the idea that you can show people that there are many people, many different people on the bridge cooperating without conflict. This was something really strange, really new, and something really giving hope. So we had Spock, who is an alien. We had Uhura, who is a woman and a black woman. We have Zulu, who is Japanese, and we also have Chekhov, who is a Russian. He was, however, made to appear as Davy Jones from the Monkees, so he had to wear a wig to have a very 60s fancy hairstyle. So he looked pretty common, but he was Russian, and he was also talking very often about Russia. And this is also something interesting. You didn't have conflict between the people on the bridge. It was vital for Roddenberry to show that you can have people who were considered enemies at the time working together in the future.
And the same goal, 5 mission in the space.
Exactly.
Okay, we want to take a break. We play the music from Star Trek. I hope the music will be work. Okay, we continue again. You already talked about Sulu, Uhura,
Chekhov.
and also Mr. Spock. Okay, what another character maybe appear in Star Trek, please?
Well, in the next series, we also have many other races. The thing is that most of the races are depicted as having a very strong one characteristic, which is also like one of the humans' characteristic. Which means we have Vulcans like Spock, who are very logical and they are like diverted from emotions, right?
Yep.
We also have Klingons. This is the race with, I'm sure you have seen some pictures with Klingons. They have like very big forehead, and they are depicted as warriors. They value honor as something the most important for them, and it is like more an aggressive race. We also have Romulans, we have Trills, we have Changelings, we have many races, and Star Trek tries to not only show them, but also to show how, if it is possible, to cooperate with them.
Cooperate. This is the interesting word to discuss, because some people who don't know about Star Trek at all, but you already know Star Trek. He said, Star Trek not many war in this movie. It's more many talking and talking.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are not war oriented, but we are solving problem oriented in Star Trek. That's why many interest, conflict interest, but we solve the problem without war. This Jane Roddenberry said also.
We will also talk a little more about what kind of topics are being depicted in various episodes.
Yeah.
Would you like to start?
Saiful
is making a face like, not really.
No, I like Star Trek is especially I love TNG, the Next Generation.
This is the second series
the
the 80s,
yeah,
yes.
because the series
90s.
have 7 seasons, many wide variation of series. I like Star Trek. This TNG is Who Watched the Watcher. You know that?
Yes, I know.
Yeah, because the Starfleet make a contact with the people, or make a contact with the civilization. Never play with the warp speed. I mean the civilization still lower than the Starfleet.
Yes.
There is a prime direction for Star Trek era to make a contact with this civilization. We have to hide the appearance to make not physical contact.
Exactly.
It will be chaos. Will be chaos between the two different civilization, advanced and lower civilization.
This is also something quite interesting, because this also gives us some answers on how to solve some problems which will appear when humanity is ready to travel into space and maybe meet other civilizations. The Prime Directive is a concept which says that whenever you meet a race or a civilization in outer space that is not as evolved as yours, you shall not interfere with its culture, with its people, so that you don't influence the civilization, because it might end in a bad way.
Yeah, I think it's better if you apply it today. If if you're not a rich country, advanced country, to make a contact or make big business with the not advanced country, should be adapt each other, not to imitate the lowest country, the poor country with the culture.
Exactly.
The end will be conflict.
And this is really fascinating, because this is why we really admire Star Trek as a series, because you see, Star Trek is taking place in over 200 years. I mean, the plot line is to be in over 200 years and more. But the problems that arise and are shown in the series are really applicable to what we have now. So, for example, this thing with the Prime Directive, with the meeting other races and so on, other civilizations, is easily applicable to what we have now here on Earth, without any outer space civilizations, but what we have just with other cultures on other continents, in our country, and so on. We have also some other topics that were covered in the old series, in the original series. For example, there was the topic of overpopulation. There is one episode trying to solve the problem, or trying to at least show a solution to the problem of overpopulation, which is even more a topic now than it was in the 60s. There is also, for example, a very interesting episode called Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. And it shows two representatives, and they are the last representatives, as I recall, of a race. They look like humans. They look like twins almost. However, they have a colored face. One of the men has his right part of the face black and the other white. The other has it reverse. The white part is right and the black is left. And they fight with each other. And we really see, watching the episode, that this conflict is pure nonsense. And however they fight, and the episode ends with a fight. Now I made a spoiler.
And no problem. It's already all movie. And by the way, the end is there's no win, there is no lose, right?
Yes.
Remember?
Yes, exactly. So we have the problem not solved.
Not solved.
Exactly. We have maybe a hint how it can be done, but the most what the episode is focusing is to show that this conflict itself is really nonsense. It's really stupid.
Okay, thank you. We have to break with the music.
Will it be Star Trek music this time?
Yes. To end of our show today. So this the first time our show. Maybe we talk about many things, about character, about shape, about the era. And next show maybe we will talk about more specific topic. Anything to add, Sofinka?
Yes, I think we will focus a little more on the influence. This is something we mentioned at the beginning of our show, that Star Trek had a very big influence on the society and also on technology. And in the era of, let's say, mobile phones that were, like, the idea came from Star Trek, and the creator of mobile phones, he admitted that it was Star Trek who inspired him. It is something that would be really fascinating to talk about.
Maybe Oscar want to add?
I hope you enjoyed our first broadcast.
Okay.
And you will attend to another one. We hope to give one soon.
Yes. It will be probably the next Saturday in the afternoon hours. We will give the exact date and time on our Facebook page, facebook.com TrekFriends.
Yeah. Stay tuned in our Facebook. Maybe we change the schedule like Vinka said. Also, somebody want to contribute our program, please welcome. Just mention in Facebook, and then we can come together. We discuss together in this program. Maybe this is enough for our introduction. And I'm really apologize. Is some technical problem, and our crew still nervous in the front of microphone.
Yes, a
It's the
little
first
bit.
time. By the way, thank you for much to listening our program. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.